So we are talking about some Hebrew words for praise. And every time you open up your Bible, you see the English word praise. There may be one of 7 different Hebrew words that are actually used. Each one means something very different. We just see praise and we think, oh, praise, and it goes through that filter, whatever we think of praise. But there's actually 7 different words in Scripture that are used. We've looked at 2 of them. We looked at yada, which is, again, often translated praise, but has a very specific meaning to praise with the hands extended. Matter of fact, it has some gusto involved. So like when your team, gets a touchdown, you stand up, you're like, yeah, score, and it's like, yeah, God, it's not necessarily the soft one. We'll talk about that later. It's the yes, God wins, woohoo, type of thing. And then we looked at halal last week, which is like a whole different level. It's beyond just the going like, yeah, touchdown. It's when your team won the game and they never should have, and you get up and you run and you storm the field and you run dancing and you're going crazy. And then you're like, oh gosh, that was silly. I don't know what even happened there. That's kind of what halal is. It's King David dancing as the ark is being brought into the city of Jerusalem, and his wife sitting in the window looking out going, oh, you're such a stupid, you look so foolish. And we tend to be the wife. Good timing. Most of us tend to be the wife. I tend to be the wife in that story, which really was depressing when it hit me last 2 weeks ago as I was studying, preparing for that word. Halal. That today we're going to look at the Hebrew word. Again, we'll see it in the English as praise, but it's a different word in the Hebrew. It's zamar, translated praise. It has a very specific meaning that's not raise the hand or get up and dance and hoot and holler. It is to make music, to celebrate in song and music, to touch the strings or parts of a musical instrument. The first 2 that we looked at may or may not include music. Music helps, but it doesn't have to be involved. This one definitely has music involved. This is you're reaching out and you're touching a stringed instrument. It's used 41 times in the Bible. Here's just like 3 of them, because they all kind of have the same flavor to them, right? I will give to the Lord the thanks. That's the word yada that we've already looked at. I will give God thanks. Woohoo! God is awesome, right? I'll give him thanks due to his righteousness, and I will sing praise, zamar, to the name of the Lord Most High. So I'm going to lift my hands in praise, and I will also, I guess you're raising your guitar over the head? No, that's not, I'm making too much out of that. I'm going to sing to him, and I'm going to celebrate him. That's that word. Two very distinctly different words in Hebrew for praise there. ESV translates the word zamar as the English word play in Psalm 144. I will sing a new song to you, O God, upon a 10-stringed harp. I will play to you. So I'm not just singing a tune. It's not just a gig. I am worshiping you through the playing of the 10-string harp is what the psalmist is saying here. The New King James translates it probably a little better, that the word zamar, because the same verse, it says, I will sing a new song to you, O God, on a harp of 10 strings, I will sing praises to you. I'm going to take the strings, and I'm going to play, and I'm going to praise God. Psalm 57, this is the last one we'll look at, verse 7. My heart is steadfast, my God, my heart is steadfast. I will sing and make melody. I will zamar, I'm going to just praise you. I'm going to sing out to you, God. Now, I mentioned the last couple of weeks, I struggle a little bit with the first 2 Hebrew words. I'm not opposed to them. I'm not against them. I wasn't raised that way. And so there's something in me that I think, no. It's just like it's something like I hit a rock or something. And I just don't tend to express myself that way. But this is like in my wheelhouse. This was like, I love this one. I read this and I'm like, yes, finally one I can say, oh yeah, you guys need to do this, because I do it. Not necessarily, but I identify so much with this one because I love music. It's much more natural to me. Now, I'm not a musician. I'm a musician wannabe, right? I can fake it enough that people even less musician than me think, oh, that guy's a musician, But people who are musicians, like these guys go, oh yeah, could we not have Dan play today? That'd be nice, There's always a weak link, and I'm generally it in the band because it's not my language, it's my wannabe language. I want to know it, but I just don't really know it. I've always wanted to be a musician, but I've never put the work into it. And that's all that's lacking. It's not like, whoa, me. It's just I just haven't done it, right? In fourth grade, in our community, we had a drum and bugle corps. And I lived in Clear Lake, Iowa at the time. And I was in the drum and bugle corps, and I did the bugle, Okay, if we didn't do that, it was basically a glorified kazoo, but it looked like a trumpet. And it was so much fun. We did parades, and we marched, and we had little things we did, and it was like, this is great, I'm going to be the greatest musician ever. I was sure of that in fourth grade. But you know how it goes with families. If you have more than one child, if you have 2, 3, 4, whatever kids, this is kind of how it tends to go. Child number one talks mom and dad into doing something, and then bombs. And then child number 2 talks mom and dad to doing the same thing, and then it bombs. By the time child number 3 comes, they're like, yeah, you're not going to do that. Okay, you know what I'm talking about? So child number 1 decided he was going to be an accordion player. That's my response. Even as a kid, I'm going, accordion? What? Anyway, he's going to be the greatest accordion player ever. He didn't even have like plaid shorts or I don't know. And so he, mom and dad like, okay, well, we'll help Junior out. And they buy him an accordion and they buy the books and they sign him up for lessons and they take him to the lessons and he never practices, right? And he finally, after a while of just gets frustrated and he just quits. And so there's an accordion at our house for like 15 years. Or longer. I don't even know what ever happened to it. I have no idea. I think I graduated from high school, and it was still at my mom's house probably at some point. Okay, so that was strike 1. Strike 2, my next brother says, I'm going to play the piano. And they're like, all right, we'll encourage that. So we didn't have a piano at home, but they had an organ. Mom liked to play the organ. So they said, you can practice on the organ. We'll buy the books, we'll sign you up for the lessons, we'll take you to the lessons, yada, yada, yada. It doesn't do any of it. They spent the money, took him to the places, totally bombed. I don't like it. It's boring, blah, blah, blah. So child number 3 comes up a few years later. I'm like, Mom, Dad, I want to learn the piano. They're like, no. Okay. That's pretty much the conversation. End of there. A few years later, get an opportunity to play guitar at school. There's some guitar thing, there's a class. I'm going to play guitar. They're like, they're not going to buy me a guitar. Play the accordion. I'm like, I don't want to play the accordion. Play the organ. I don't want to play the organ. We're not going to buy you a guitar. No. I mean, the conversation, it's just how it goes, because they've been on that rodeo before, right? I mean, they're just like, yeah, we know how this works. We're going to throw a bunch of money down the hole, and you're not going to do it, and then we'll have another instrument laying around the house. So no. So that just didn't work for me. Finally, I was like 6th grade. They had band. They introduced band to our grade, and it was an after-school thing, and so you sign up, and you have to buy a recorder, right? So they didn't cost very much, so okay, we'll do that for you. So I get a recorder and the music book and everything, and I show up, and we all open up the recorders. Remember how that goes? Did you ever do the recorder? They're all going, brrr. I mean, just terrible sounding. Nobody knows what they're doing, but they're all blowing on it because they can. And we're looking at this book, and it's like there's all these dots. I have no idea. I don't know. Any of this stuff is crazy. What do you do with this? And something happened. It was an after-school thing, so I don't know. I was sick a couple days or something. I missed 2 practices of when the band got together. I came back the 3rd week, and everybody has their books open, and they're looking at the dots, and they're playing music. And I'm going, somehow they figured out the mystery of music, right? Someone taught them the magic, and I have no idea what they're doing. I don't know what those dots are. How do you know which, hole you fill? I mean, I knew nothing. I was so discouraged, so disappointed. And so rather than be responsible and say to the teacher, hey, I missed a couple days. Could you? I mean, it would have been an 8-minute conversation. Oh, you just do this and practice. And I would have caught up, but I wasn't mature enough to know that. And since it was an after-school thing, I probably didn't even tell them. I just said, forget it, and I quit going, proving my parents correct. I was not responsible enough to be a musician. That's my life as a musician. I decided to be a football player instead, which turned out equally impressive in my life. So that's my story with music. But here's my point in this whole thing. I love music. I don't know it. I don't speak the language. I don't understand it. I still look at the dots and think they're just a bunch of dots. Now, I can do Every Good Boy Does Fine, but you can't do that with each note in a song, right? I mean, and the songs go faster than that, because then I'd have to do that and then do it on the key, matter of fact, Danielle's had me play keys before. There are masking tape letters of the letters. So he said, all you gotta do is do this. I'm like, oh, I can do that. It's not that I do not know how to play keyboard. I see an F, I say F. I've done that to just do some filler background music on the keys. I don't know it. I just don't speak the language, but I love it. I absolutely love it. I love Zamar because I love to praise with an instrument. I'm just limited. Now, I've since, all that time, I've learned enough. You've seen me play some guitar that I can fake it enough that I got to the point where I could at least satisfy my heart to say, okay, I can Zamar. I can pick up a guitar and I can play some chords and I can worship God. I do much more on my own than I do in front of people. It was in my 30s, sometime in my 30s, that we had. And how's that for Zamar? We had a church band, and we had one guitar player, and he was often out of town for work. And so it was a really awkward band. You had your drums and keyboard and everything, but no guitar player, and I was leading the worship. And so I just out of necessity, I thought I've got to at least learn enough chords to play, to Zamar. I didn't know it was Zamar at the time. And so I went to the store and I bought me a poster with the diagrams of all the chords on it. It was about one of those big posters, and it was on the back of my office door. And I bought me a cheap guitar, not this one. I've upgraded a couple times since then. But and it was a very slow process. I'd sit there, I'd look at the diagram, you put your finger there, and in the beginning you got to kind of make your fingers go. Do you ever learn guitar and you have to, it doesn't naturally happen. And now I can do it because I've been doing it for a few years. But and it kind of sounded like this, kind of like my recorder, And after a while, I could play a G. That was really cool. But that was it. And that's all I knew. And I would sit there, and it was just kind of close my eyes. And I didn't know. There's no words with this. And I just kind of play like, I love you, God. I'm playing music to you. And and he's like, yeah, good for you. And Cheryl yells in from the kitchen, could you learn another chord? I really annoyed her in the beginning with this. So I learned another chord. The D is pretty easy, and I had to look at the diagram and make my fingers work, and it was like, okay. So then I had a new song, and I just enjoyed. I mean, it was just, like I say, there's no words. It's just like, hey, God, I'm playing a string. I'm Zamaring. I'm playing a stringed instrument, and I just love you. And I don't even know. It's just a connection with music and the soul, I think. And then the scary thing is, after your wife yells at you enough to learn new chords, you have to go back and forth. And in the beginning, you stop and look at the poster again, and that's kind of hard to do in a song too, But after a while, you just learn. And I could just sit there for hours, but there's no words to this. Throw in another chord, and it's just a quiet, private, very personal worship. Now I also knew I'd have to do this in front of people. That's a whole different level, singing and strumming at the same time, because sometimes you're singing at a different rhythm than you're playing. That took me a while to figure that out. But I loved, after I learned a few chords, I could pick out a few songs that just didn't have a lot of chords in it. Some music's like really super simple, and some's not, but some really is. And talking to musicians, I picked up little pointers like Maranatha's Rock of Ages is a really simple song to play. And I remember looking at the music and thinking, I don't know how to play a B flat. I still don't know how to play a B flat. I mean, I say I'm limited. I don't know how to do a D minor. Half of those chords, I have no clue. And a musician friend of mine said, oh, that's why God made capos. And all you do is you put it on the second fret there, and now you can play the chords you know, like a G. Like, that opened up the whole world to me. And here, all of a sudden I could sing like a real song with like 2 chords, maybe 3. This is the first song we sung ever at Pathway, because I was the worship leader. We didn't have a team really yet. We just kind of were putting a church together. And so I did songs I could do that I did in my living room on my couch 1 billion times with my eyes closed. There's no rock, there's no God like our God. No other name worthy of all our praise. It's just this worship. I mean, I don't have to be professional. I can just sit in my living room or in my office. Well, now I'm doing it in front of you, but that's Zamar, picking up a 10-string instrument, and it's just like this adds a layer. Like I say, there's a soul connection in music. When you're singing to God, it's just an extra connection. You don't even have to be playing it. Just when there's music there, it really does it. That's why I think you have to be really careful what kind of music you listen to. And I'm not talking about what flavor of music, but like what kind of words you're listening to, because there is a spiritual connection between music and words and your soul, and it's either going to draw you to God or away from God. You just have to be really careful. There are songs that just like burn a hole in my spirit, and I can't even listen to it. Some types of genres that I can't. So that's just something. We Will Dance. That was another song where you could just like if you can play a D and a G. In a song of celebration, lift up the shout of God. I don't remember the words. I could sit there and I would play that song for hours. And it's just this added a whole new window to my worship. And then there's the song that when I lead worship now, which is pretty rare, almost every time I'll do this, blessed be your name. It's for 2 reasons. One, I can play it. Okay. But 2 is the words of this is so impactful to me. I say it connects with your soul. Have you ever been like super down or having something really terrible going on in your life or something, and you come to church, or maybe you turn on your radio in the car, whatever, but you come in and the doors open up and you hear the music and you just kind of feel your spirits rise a little bit? That's Zamar. It's the praises of God going up and you're connecting with it, saying, you know what, it's going to be all right. This song we sung like the Sunday after my mom died. And I can almost like feel this emotional, spiritual healing that took place as I was singing. You know, when I'm in this desert place, God, I praise you. You know, the blessed be your name. This stinks. What I'm going through stinks. You're still God. You're still God. Though I walk through the wilderness, blessed be your name. On the road marked with suffering. Sometimes you're suffering. I mean, sometimes things are just rough that you can still say, blessed be your name, God. That there's pain in the offering. And that song just identifies. Because, and then, there's the other part, and the streams of abundance flow. Blessed be. No matter what's going on in my life, praise you, God. Zamar you, God. And to be able to play it, for me personally, is like just adds an element to it. The music, it connects and it connects you in your soul to God. That's what this is talking about. Music is a gift of God, you know? It's His. He created this thing. And it's there's a lot of music out there, but man, the God music is just It's a healing thing, and it's a wonderful thing. And you don't have to be a super great musician to Zamar. Learn a few chords and poke around at it. But we're doing this 24/7 prayer room in a few weeks, and we always have a section in there where there's a guitar and a simple keyboard and maybe a djembe, drum, different musical instruments. And I've heard so many stories from people through the years saying, I have no idea how to play guitar, but I picked up a guitar and I just made noises, and I thought, yeah, I've done that. You know? Or I have no idea how to play keyboard, but I know a couple like chords, and I just sat there and did these chords and just kind of prayed, like, yeah, I've done that. Or I can't do any of that, but I turned on some music, and I picked up the drum, and I just beat on it, and it was just my connection of playing music through the song. And it was just this worship thing. It's really kind of cool. There'll be a music section in our prayer room coming up next month. Make sure to spend some time Zamaring, if I can say it that way, and worshiping through that. Like I said, you don't have to be a great musician, just do it. Now, we try to put our better musicians up here on the 30th, the September 30th, the last Sunday of the month. We're going to have an evening of worship. It'll kind of conclude the prayer room. Unless you keep it going, we'll keep it going as long as you want. But we're going to have some of our good musicians up here just singing some praise, and it'll be a time of worship and just saying thank you, God. I encourage you to be a part of that. When I was in college, it was in Des Moines, on the south side of Des Moines, southeast side of Des Moines, and we were on a pretty high hill. I mean, you don't look at it as a hill, but just geographically, it was highest part in Des Moines in a 4-story building, and I was on the 3rd story, and it overlooked downtown. So, like my view was like straight on to the Capitol. So I Googled. I can't find a picture of that, but it looked something like this. Just think a little bit east, and because I could see downtown a little bit to my left, and what I would do is I would put in some soft music because I couldn't play anything at the time. And I was glad I had people who could through my albums. And I'd turn the stereo down low. I'd turn off my lights. I loved doing just like top 5 memories of college, right? Because I did this multiple times. And I would look over the city, a little further away than what this picture shows. Go back a couple more miles or something. And I would just look out at the city, and I would let the worship music just kind of speak to my soul. I'd let it guide me in singing, in praying. I prayed for the homes. You could see thousands of homes, or hundreds anyway, knowing there were thousands of people. And I would pray for the people. I would pray for the children in those homes. I would pray for the moms and dads. I would pray for the marriages. I didn't know any of it. I just pray for the city. I'd pray for the churches, and I spent time just seeking God. College is one of those times, you're that age, you're deciding what are you going to do next? What's my life going to look like? How's God going to use me? All these questions, who am I going to be with? All these things are going through your mind, and it was so great to just turn off the lights, view the city, and worship. It was peaceful. It was powerful. Obviously, and here I am talking about it years later. It was so simple. And you can do that anywhere, anytime. One of the songs that I especially liked listening to was a song by Keith Green. He was an early Christian artist. He actually passed away in 1982. And it was this, so he had died before I even heard of him, but it was shortly after that. And he had a song, "Oh Lord, You're Beautiful," right? And I would put that song on, turn off the lights, look out over the city, and I would just let it pray for me. I would pray with it. "Oh Lord, You're beautiful. Your face is all I seek. When your eyes are on this child, Your grace abounds in me. And I just imagine God's grace, being showered on me. Oh Lord, please light the fire that once burned bright and clear. Replace the lamp of my first love that burns with holy fear. I let him do the instruments, and I did the singing, and I did the praying. That's Zamar. And that's what we're going to do today. We have done today. It was almost kind of nice. We had a couple different drummers that couldn't come, and they're not stringed instruments, so maybe it worked out having some strings behind us today. You don't have to play an instrument. You can learn enough to sit at home and Zamar, or you can sing with those who already do it, the beauty, wonder of modern technology. But to include that in your praise. It's not all about jumping and hollering and shouting and raising hands and doing somersaults. Sometimes it's just the quiet, I love you, God.